part of our exchange at the timeline?
Yeah, basically, I was commenting on the video that you'd put out. What was it? The 10.
The syllogisms.
Yeah, 10 syllogisms, arguments for God's existence. And in the comments, I pointed out to you that they were just basically arguments from ignorance. Is what you were putting out. You didn't put any proof for the existence of God. You put a good argument for a God, but you didn't put any proof there for God. That's what I was trying to explain to you.
Yeah, there are no proofs for God, and that is not something that, in my understanding, has to be pursued. There is, in science, there is only proofs in mathematics. What we try to find is to make an abductive argument to the best explanation, and we compare worldviews. One is without God and the other is with God, and see where the evidence leads.
Yes, but if you're constructing a God to answer them important questions, the way you construct that God is going to answer the question.
No, because in the syllogism, I make a premise, and then from that I make a logical inference. That is not a circular argument which I'm making there. So I don't agree with your objection.
Well, yes, because what you're doing is you're calling some of these devices machines or factories, and then you're inventing a God that will explain how that's done. So yes, it is a circular argument, because like you said yourself, you've got no evidence for God. So how do you know what this God thinks? What it can actually do? Why do you think it's got to be a personal God? For one, I can understand the argument that a God may have started everything, but how have you made it a personal God? This God could have set everything going and then cleared off, never to be seen again, and we're just left here to our own devices and carry on from there. That's equally as good an argument as what yours is. But you're saying it's got to be a personal God as well.
Well, first of all, you are. Well, first of all, Paul, you are interchanging proofs with evidence. That is not the same. Proofs or empirical evidence is one thing. We don't have any empirical proofs for God's existence. Now, evidence is the creation, is the physical world. That is what we have to inspect, and then we can draw rational conclusions. So, and we can have different philosophical inferences based on what we see in the natural world. Some think that the evidence doesn't point to God, and others, like me, think that we have imprints of intelligence, of design, a signature of an intelligent mind, which must have created what we see in the natural world.
So why does it have to be a personal God?
Well, do you agree that
I'm thinking that you're talking about a Christian God. Would I be correct in thinking that?
Yeah. Do you believe that the universe had a beginning?
Yes. I mean, science says that the Big Bang. Yeah, I'd accept that. Whether that's actually correct, I wouldn't really know.
Okay, so let's suppose that that is correct and that the universe had a beginning. So your question is, why must the cause of the universe be a personal God?
Yes.
Okay, I will put you a link here, and you can have a look. I can put it on the screen, and then we can look what I wrote there. Just a minute, please. Shall I write it to you? Yeah, read it to you. My answer.
Yeah, you'd have to do, because that's small. I can't see it.
Yeah, I'm not good to just tell it by myself, so I prefer to read the answer to you. The universe had a cause. That cause is either personal or impersonal. There are different types of causal relations. In event causation, one event causes another. In that case, another contingent physical cause would have had to trigger the Big Bang or further back the cosmos, multiverses, etc., leading to an infinite regress. If it were impersonal, it would have to be of physical substance, space, time, and matter, or abstract numbers and math. There could be no physical being beyond our universe or a creator or a greater cosmos. In state-state causation, one state of affairs causes another state of affairs to exist. It faces the same problem. This causation is like a frozen pond where there would be a tree trunk resting on the top of that pond, and the frozen pond is causing the rest of the tree trunk. But that could not trigger a change from one state into another, but would remain static from eternity. And the state-state situation causation would also have to be physical. So the cause is timeless, is a timeless state, but an effect is an event that occurred at a specific moment in the finite past. The cause of the universe beginning in is a personal agent, an unembodied mind, who freely choose to create a universe. That state event causation or agent causation, which has to go from a state of timeless mental being to will an event of a transition from a non-physical to a physical state of being. Therefore, the only explanation of what triggered the universe or cosmos is intelligent causation based on non-physical mental will and power. Since the cause created matter, space, and time, it had to be immaterial and exist in a timeless dimension. The only immaterial things we know of being able to cause something into being are conscient minds who are able to make decisions. Therefore, the cause must be personal. So there must have been a decision to cause the beginning of the universe's beginning. We know by experience that the mind can cause action solely based on will. An eternal and necessary first cause is the best explanation of our existence. Only a mind can cause an effect without pre-existing physical conditions. So that would be my answer, Paul.
Yeah, I understand your answer, but this is why I'm saying that to me, it's an argument from ignorance, because we go back in time and we get to the point of the Big Bang. We don't know what caused that Big Bang. You're putting a personal agent to the cause of that, and I don't understand how you can go from all the way back to the Big Bang. Science goes, right, we don't know what caused this, what the first cause was, and then you suddenly come up with it's a personal God, and that personal God is the Christian God. I don't know how you rationally got to that position. That's what just doesn't make any sense to me, is how you rationally got to that decision. Because basically, we've got to a point which we do not understand, or we do not know at this moment in time, what that prime mover is that caused the Big Bang. If the Big Bang theory is correct, and you're saying that you do, you put up a good argument for this being this God, but you're not explaining how you've got to that conclusion that it is a personal God and it is a Christian God, because none of this is explained in the Bible. If you read the Bible, you wouldn't come to any of this conclusion. The only thing it says in the Bible that God created the earth and everything on it in 6 days. In the beginning, God created the earth. That's it. Which again is just a claim. There's no evidence for any of this whatsoever. And how you've got from your argument to that it's actually a personal God, I just don't understand how you've done that. To me, it's an argument from ignorance. You've gone back to, you've let science do its job, and it's got back to a certain point, or God of the gaps argument, and science has gone, we don't know what did this, and you're saying it's this personal God.
Sorry,
That's what I don't understand is how
sorry, I was disconnected from the internet, so I've not followed your
oh, right, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, you can restate, please, what you were saying.
Yeah, I'd say that your argument is a God of the gaps argument. Science has gone back to the origin of the universe, which is the Big Bang. It can't go any further back than that, and it doesn't know what caused the Big Bang.
Yeah,
you're now saying that this what caused the Big Bang is this personal God, this personal Christian God that caused the Big Bang. How have you got to that?
Well, I don't agree, first of all, that this is a God of the gaps argument, because we have a premise, the universe at the beginning, and therefore it requires an explanation.
But that's all we can say is we understand that the universe has a beginning. What caused that beginning, we don't know. And that's the correct answer. You're saying, no, what caused the beginning is this personal God. For a start, if it is a God, how do you even know it's personal? It could be a God that goes around creating universes, creates a universe, and then plays off elsewhere and creates another universe. You've got no evidence that this God even exists, and even if it is some sort of a God, you've got no evidence that it's a Christian God, because the Muslims would argue exactly the same thing, that it's the Muslim God, not the Christian God, and they could argue it just as well as you could.
Okay, I think that we can make logical inferences based on the fact that the universe had a beginning. And
yes, but that's as far as you can go.
Yes,
I agree. But
maybe we have a different approach in epistemology, because I don't apply just scientism or verificationism as a solid framework in order to explore and understand origins. For me, theology and philosophy is equally a valid approach, together with science, to come to reasonable conclusions in regard of these issues. So if you, of course, just apply science as a methodology to make inferences to the past, then I understand your view that maybe my approach is a God of the gaps, because we do not have proofs. But that is not my approach. I think that philosophy and theology are valid methodologies to make meaningful conclusions in regards of origins.
Yeah, you could make a meaningful conclusion, but like you've just said yourself, you've got no evidence for this. There's no proof of this. I don't understand how you can get any proofs without using science.
Paul, as I said, I make a distinction between evidence and proofs, empirical, verifiable proofs. These are two different things.
So you don't think it's possible then to get a proof for a God?
No, but in the same sense, Paul, you do not have proofs that the material world is all that is. So we are in the same boat here, and what we need is the better explanation in regards of origins. You have two views: one is with God, the other is without God. And if you can provide good rational inferences that lead to materialism as the better explanation and theism, then hey, by all means, go for it. But in my understanding, no atheist has brought forth any good arguments whatsoever of how we can exist without a creator.
Yeah, because like I said, it's a God of the gaps argument. Because
we
just keep going. We'll always end up going back. The argument will always go back all the way until we get to the Big Bang, and we don't know what caused that. Now, obviously, you've got abiogenesis, which is when life first started on the Earth, and we don't know how the first life first began. But once life did begin, we do have an understanding of how evolution works and how we've got the different diversity of and different life on the planet. Would you disagree with evolution?
Yes, I disagree with.
You disagree with.
I
disagree with the.
Let me specify what I mean with that. I do not. We have to understand what evolution means. There are various meanings of evolution. I understand that adaptation is a life essential feature of life. If there is no ability of organisms to adapt to the environment, then life would suddenly cease to exist. So that is life essential. Now, another entirely different question is if common ancestry is true, and if evolution explains organismal form and all the biodiversity that we see on the earth and from bacteria to man. That is an entirely different question than adaptation. So I think that adaptation, aka microevolution, that is empirically proven. Macroevolution of second degree of speciation, this is also proven. Now macroevolution of first degree of speciation, that are changes which produce legs and eyes and ears and so forth. This is an unproven assertion. So I make that distinction, and I have an own explanation of how we can explain organismal complexity and multicellular organisms. And it's far more complex than just random genetic change and natural selection, drift and gene flow. This is, in my understanding, a falsified assertion, which is still holds today by the majority of biologists, but which I do not agree with based on what I have investigated on a molecular level. Now, I would like to come back to what you said in regards of God of the gaps. I think we have a common ground here that nobody has proofs or knows what is beyond the physical universe and curtain. So I could say as well, materialism is a materialism of the gaps because there are no proofs that the material world is all there is. So I think this is an entirely nonsensical and meaningless question if there are proofs of God's existence, because we do not have proofs either in one direction or in the other direction. For that reason, I say we need to make a framework of abductive reasoning to the best explanation and investigate in which direction that the evidence leads us. And then I return back to what I said previously, Paul. I think there is no good evidence or there are no good explanations of how we can exist without a creator. And coming to the Big Bang. So what are the alternatives to a creator? There is a universe which would have started from absolutely nothing, or there would be an eternal universe, and then you would have infinite regress, which is also not possible. So the two alternatives, they do not work. And I can use, in that regard, eliminative inductions, which mean if these two alternatives do not work, then the alternative, even if we don't fully understand it, is the better explanation.
Well, you said there that the one of the alternatives was that the universe started from nothing. I wouldn't go along with that one. We don't know it started from nothing. We don't know if it started from something. That's why I'm saying that it's the God of the gaps. You're saying that atheists say, or science says that the universe, the Big Bang, all started from nothing. But that isn't the case. We don't know. This is the point. We do not know that it started from nothing. It could have started from something. There could have always been something there, and then the universe started from there. We could live in, as we do, an expanding universe. It might get so far out and then start collapsing back in on itself, and then start again. We just do not know.
Okay.
That's a possibility.
Let us suppose that what you are saying is true. I will read to you. I can link it to the chat. You can have also a look at it, and I can even screen it here on the screen.
So do you believe in a young Earth or an old Earth then?
Yes, I'm a young Earth creationist.
So when you say young, what's that, 6,000, 10,000?
Yeah, about 6,000 years. But I want to come back to the first cause argument. That is Aquinas' argument. A series of events exists. One event is added to another to get us to today. But we know that whenever we pause, we can't have an infinite number of events. This means that there is not an infinite number of events that go backward from this point in time. Adding individual events together can never get to an infinite period of time. The series of events exists as caused and not as uncaused necessary. There must exist an uncaused necessary being that is the cause of all contingent being. Since
That's the
that
problem.
cause,
Why must it be a necessary being? How does it get?
Because-
Just go back to that. Just go back to that sentence that you just said. Read it out and then get to the necessary being bit, and explain to me how you've got to that bit. It's got to be a necessary being. It can't just be a natural event.
Yeah, I can explain it to you in a more extended way, so you might understand better what I mean. Just give me a second that I will open here the link, and then we can look at that. Imagine that you see dominoes falling. Let me put that on the screen so everyone can follow it. Just a moment. Okay. Imagine that you see dominoes falling, one knocking over the next as this series of falling dominoes comes into your room. As a person can never finish counting to infinity, an actual infinite number of dominoes could never finish falling. Therefore, if an actual infinite number of dominoes had to fall before getting to your door, then the falling dominoes would never reach your door. In the same way, if an actual infinite number of minutes had to take place before yesterday, time would never have reached yesterday, much less today. Therefore, just as there had to be a finite number of falling dominoes, there also had to be a finite, not infinite, amount of time before today. An infinite past is impossible. Time must have a beginning, and if time had a beginning, it must have had a cause.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I follow that. Yeah, if you can't have an infinite number of minutes going in the past, because like you said, we'd never get to today because it would go back infinite. So we could never get to today. Yeah,
Yes.
I absolutely follow that.
And that is the reason why we cannot have an infinite universe in the past, because our universe is bound to change, and when it's bound to change, it's bound to time. And if you have time, then you have sections of temporal sections, subsequently one after the other, which you cannot have them infinite in the past. So that is one of the reasons why the universe had to have a beginning.
But like I said, I don't deny that the universe had a beginning.
Okay.
I'm quite happy that the universe had a beginning, and I'm quite happy with what science said that it was the Big Bang.
So whatever, Paul, we will say from now on is not science, it is philosophy. But it doesn't mean because it's philosophy that it is not valid to come to meaningful inferences and an understanding of what makes sense. We have basically, as I said before, three options to choose from. One is a universe that began without any cause whatsoever, which started from nothing. The second is that the universe would have had no beginning but go eternally back into the past, which is also not possible because of what we just said now. And the third option would be that the universe was caused by something, and then we can elucidate what that something Most probably is.
No,
And there
you
are two
can't. That's the
possibilities.
problem. Is I don't understand how you can. I agree with you on that point. Something must have caused the universe, but this is what I've been saying all along: is I don't know how you've come to the conclusion that it has to be a personal God or even a being. We've got to that point, and the answer is I don't know, and that's it. That's the answer. I don't know.
Well, as I said, you have two options. You have two options, Paul. Either the universe was caused by another physical something, and then we would have eternal regress, or it was caused by something non-physical. And the only thing that we know of that are non-physical and that can cause change are conscious minds.
No, this is the thing: is you can't say what it was that caused it. You're saying there's only. Sorry, I missed what the word. You said there's only two possibilities, but we don't know there's only two possibilities. There could be other possibilities we don't know about yet, and may never find out what the answer is. And it's more than likely that we'll never find out the real answer.
What we can assert without evidence, we can discard without evidence. Just saying, oh, maybe there are other options, but we don't know them, that is not a meaningful approach to come to meaningful conclusions. And I think basically just by logic, we can infer that there can only be these three options. One is a universe from nothing.
Any other possibility apart from them three? That's what you're saying, is you've dismissed any other possibility, and they're the only three that are on the table.
Yes, I think so. If you have another, then put it on the table. But if you don't have, if
but
you
what
say,
I'm saying is the other, there could be another, but we don't know what it is. That's what I'm saying. Just to say that there can be another.
And what I am saying, Paul, is that whatever you can assert without evidence, you do not have any evidence that there might be other options, then I discard it as well without evidence.
But you still shouldn't discard any other options. If a good option comes along, then you would look at it. But what you're saying is you're automatically going to discard any other possibility without knowing what them possibilities.
No. I don't a priori discard any other possibility. But if you assert that eventually another option exists, then put it on the table and we can have a look at it. But if you have not, and you just say, oh, there could be other options. Well, there could be fairy tales, there could be Santa Claus, there could be whatever you imagine, but that is not reasonable to put it on the table because there is no evidence. And
no, I'm not saying you put it on the table. What I'm saying is you don't reject any other possibilities, which it seems to be what you're doing.
No. I am not rejecting any other possibility a priori. What I am saying that I cannot rationally imagine that there could be any other option. And as long that this is the case, I work with what I think is reasonable. And I think that there are just three reasonable and logical possible explanations. One is a cause. Second is no cause at all. Nothing created in the universe. And the third option would be that the universe would be eternal. Since the two options, one no cause and the second an eternal universe, they are rationally not sound, then we remain with the option that there was a cause, and then we can figure out.
Yeah, but we don't know what that cause is. I agree. I would go for that option myself. That is the most logical option. Is there must have been a cause, but that's as far as we can go.
Yeah, but now
we don't know what that cause is yet. We can think about what different things could cause it.
Paul, it is not about knowing. It is about what is philosophically and also theologically reasonable. That is all what we are investigating. What is in what direction does us lead the evidence and rational thought? And if you agree on that the universe had the beginning and the cause, then we have two options here. Either that cause was intelligent or it was not intelligent. That is what I read just in the beginning of our chat. We have two options. One is a non-intelligent cause, and then what kind of non-intelligent causes would there be? And If you posit another physical something causing this Big Bang or this event, then that cause would also be contingent because it would be physical and bound to time, and then you would have eternal regress. So that leads us to a necessary cause which is not physical, and the only non-physical causes that we can fathom or understand are minds, which can bring an event into existence without preconditional without any preconditions. I mean, I can think about doing something without a precondition, and then I can bring it forward into existence through my will and a decision. And that, I think, is the only rational explanation of how the universe came to be, by an intelligent, non-physical, mental, eternal being, an intelligence which had the power and will to cause the Big Bang and the universe into existence.
Yeah, and my position would be, I don't know what caused it. That would be my position.
I think that I am warranted to come to that conclusion, and I can show to you why I think so. I can read that. Just give me a minute. Okay. And that is an argument which was brought forward by Aquinas. He showed us that the attributes of a true God are logically deduced. The properties of the first cause, one supernatural in nature, as it exists outside and beyond of the natural physical universe. Let me put this on the screen. Oh, that's on the screen already. Okay. The second, uncaused, beginningless, and eternal, that is self-existent as it exists without a cause, outside of time and space, besides the fact that infinite regress of causes is impossible. Then omnipresent and all-knowing, it created space and is not limited by it. Changeless, change depends on physical being. Timeless, without physical events, there can be no time, and time began with the Big Bang. Immaterial, because he transcends space and created matter. Spaceless, since it created space. Personal, the impersonal can't create personality, and only a personal free agent can cause a change from a changeless state. Enormously powerful, since it brought the entire universe, space-time, and matter into existence. Necessary, as everything else depends on it. Absolutely independent and self-existent. It does not depend on a higher causal agency to exist, otherwise there would be infinite regress, which is impossible. Infinite and singular, as you cannot have two infinities. Diverse yet unity, as a multiplicity implies a prior singularity. Intelligent, supremely to create everything in special language, complexity, factories, machines. And purposeful, as it deliberately created everything with goals in mind. And then I can show you 15 attributes to God which we find in the Bible. And that's why I say that the Kalam cosmological argument leads to the God of the Bible.
Right, and I don't get how you've got to that position. I really don't. I understand your position, and I understand what you're saying. It's how you get to that position. To me, you can, as far as you can go is to the point where it's I don't know, because we've got no evidence of this particular God that you're talking about, this God of the Bible. I mean, to say that the Earth is only 6,000 years old.
I think that we have amazing evidence, Paul, in regards of the God of the Bible. We have historical evidence.
I don't believe we've got any historical evidence at all apart from the Bible. Once you get rid of the Bible, you haven't got any historical evidence at all.
Oh yeah, we do. We have so many evidence of a historical Jesus. We have the Shroud of Turin. We have archaeological evidence.
No. The Shroud of Turin has been debunked. It's about 1300 years old, so it doesn't go back far enough.
I
know
disagree.
I know you'll disagree, but science doesn't disagree with me with that one.
Well, I think science is on my side, Paul, because we have more recent science papers which have investigated the radiocarbon tests in 1988, and they say these tests are not accurate. So,
No, they wouldn't be accurate, would they? But
well, I can.
So you'd need more evidence than that, because as far as I'm concerned, that the shroud has been debunked. But even if it was, all it would prove is you'd have a 2,000-year-old shroud. That still wouldn't prove anything. You still wouldn't be able to prove that it was Jesus that was buried there, that was wrapped in it.
Well, Paul, you talk consistently about proofs. As I said you in the beginning, I do not have any proofs, and materialists don't have any proofs
what you did say, though,
you
did say was there was historical evidence for Jesus in the Bible, and there absolutely isn't. Outside of the Bible, there is no credible evidence. There is so many.
There is so many evidence of the historical Jesus, and
like what?
Just a moment.
If you can send me the links, I can look at them, and we can carry on this conversation. Because obviously in the UK it's 10:20 here, and I'm at work at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I can't go on all night. So if you want to send me the links for historical evidence for Jesus, I can take a look at them, and then we can arrange, if you don't mind, we can do another chat, and we can chat about that. Sure. Because I don't think we're going to get any further ahead talking about the Big Bang, because it's always going to be a personal being for you, and it's always going to be Big Bang. I don't know what caused it. So if we want to chat about the historical evidence of the Bible, and you send me the links for your evidence, then we can have a chat about that.
Yeah, sure. I think I've sent you a link of the historical Jesus, if you want. Also on the Shroud of Turin, of both. You can have a look of both of them, and there you will find all the recent science papers which demonstrate that the radiocarbon was not accurate in 1988. There is also historical evidence that the shroud existed prior to the 13th century. Have a look at it, and then we can have another chat another time.
Yeah, we can do. Well, I'd stay on longer, but like I say, it's 10:20 in the evening here, and I'm at work at 5 o'clock. So
no problem, Paul.
By the way, I'll just let you know that I do enjoy your videos. And that video that I watched this afternoon, I absolutely enjoyed watching it. And it was a brilliant argument that you put up. I just disagree with your conclusion. That's all.
Yeah, I have put in my new channel a playlist. You can check it. And I have another YouTube channel. The name is Intelligent Design Academy. I can put the link to it.
Yes, if you can do, please, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, and then you can have a look at these videos as well. And whenever you want to join to chat again and talk about these issues, I am pleased to do that.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Yes, it's been lovely speaking to you. Thanks very much.
Okay, I thank you. Appreciate it. Bye bye, Paul.
Bye bye. Have a good evening.
Bye. So is there someone else who would like to join the chat? I am here to entertain ourselves. Here is the link. Yeah. I think we have a good cumulative argument for God's existence, already starting with the Big Bang, and then I can put this here in the link on the chat. Okay. Here we have cumulative. This is a cumulative argument for the God of the Bible, starting with the Big Bang and then going forward with fine-tuning and origin of life and evolution. Hey Daniel, how are you? Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Hello?
hello.
Hey, how are you, Antangelo?
I'm fine, thanks, and you?
I'm good. Yeah, that
I've
guy
seen
just
you in
didn't.
other chats. I've seen
Yeah,
you in other chats with Smokey, so we know each other.
yes, yes. Yeah, that guy just didn't want to accept the obvious, I think.
Yeah, but I think that's how we start. You know, you give him opportunity to think about these things, and maybe one day he will realize that the evidence points to God. But when you start with a faulty epistemological framework where you are searching for proofs of God's existence and do not realize that there are no proofs on either way, I mean, that is the first thing that you have to remove, and you need to establish a consistent epistemological framework upon you make your investigation to come to meaningful conclusions.
That's very true. I mean, what do people mean by proof anyway? You know?
He was
I
mixing
mean,
evidence with proof, and I pointed out to him that proof is empirical, observable evidence, or something that we can see, and evidence is what we see in the natural world, and from there we draw our conclusions, and that is just evidence. That these are two different things.
yeah, like proof is not a clear thing. I guess in mathematics we could say there's
Yeah,
proof,
yeah, yeah,
but
exactly.
one person's, to convince someone of something could be different for everybody. So
Yeah,
proof, is seeing believing, not to everybody. So it's
yeah.
not even necessarily observation.
When they are asked Matt Dillahunty what he means by proofs, he wasn't even able to answer that, and he said, "Oh, I don't know what would convince me that God exists." So they don't even know what to look for.
Yeah. Well, they just have a inconsistent, like you said, an inconsistent epistemology that doesn't really make sense, honestly.
Yeah, you need to make first a framework upon which you make an investigation, and when that is clear, then you go and look after what you want to find out.
Yeah. I mean, I could say like personally, it was like a switch went off. When I went from atheist to Christian, it was like I don't know. It was just like everything I looked at changed, and it became obvious. It's kind of like wanted to hit
Yes,
myself in the head. Like what
yes,
was I
yes,
thinking? It's right in front of your
yes, yes.
face.
It is incredible. When I show the numbers, the odds to have life from non-life, many atheists they don't think about it. They just go, they are blind to recognize what the evidence demonstrates, and it is remarkable.
Yeah, I think it's pride. It's a lot of pride.
Yes, pride, unbelief, and rebellion, all that
Yep.
kind of things. You know, the urge to have a life without anyone above you.
Yep. I like when that guy kept on saying like I don't know how you got from to God from the beginning of the universe. I mean, you sat there and explained it all to him.
Yes,
I don't
but
know what
he's
he didn't get. Like at least he could
yeah.
say he understands it, but rejects it. But I mean, it's pretty clear to me.
Yeah, I showed him that uh, we are just using logical reasoning to come to meaningful conclusions, and it's not necessary that we have empirical proofs. But I would even go
Yeah,
so far to say that the Aquinas argument of the ontological argument is actually a logical proof of God's existence.
I agree with that. There's a couple logical proofs. Just the absurdity of atheism, I think, is a logical proof. The absurdity of the contrary. God exists.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
we
atheism
have.
couldn't exist without theism, so they are
Yeah,
parasites of us.
I mean, like
Yeah,
you like reason and logic. Like we need a free will to be reasonable, to think. To come up with like without And how do you explain a will? How do you explain a free will? You can't explain it
Yeah.
materialistically.
No, you
So
can't.
again, that
That
leads to
is
God.
that is the hard problem of consciousness, which has no solution, unless that you posit that God created consciousness and intelligence,
Yeah.
because matter cannot you cannot produce something from matter which isn't intelligent and conscious. So
Yeah. Like I said, all these things
hi Tony, how are you?
they make a lot of sense.
Hey,
Hey Tony.
hey guys.
How's doing?
Yeah, excellent. I might have a discussion with Snake next week, so we'll see what else that clown can.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
I
joke. It's a
yeah,
waste of time, man.
it was not. He was not a good opponent, I think, and he didn't have good arguments. Unless you consider making up things a good argument, then he was
Yeah,
plenty. He had plenty of stories which he was making up.
yeah. And then he accused you of a narrative, but he had one.
Yeah, that was disappointing. But whatever. I mean, hey, I mean,
That went
it
exactly
is.
how I
It
thought
is.
it would go.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
nowhere.
I mean, I was thinking about what he
Exactly.
said today when I explained to him, hey, you have, according to science, about 500 amino acids on a prebiotic earth, and there was no selection mechanism. And then he goes and says, well, but in the future, science will find out. Hey,
Yeah,
that is not rational. That is just foolish.
right.
This is
Yeah.
this is
He also
nonsense.
he kept comparing that he was accusing you of talking about modern cells. Okay, who has produced anything close to this primitive cell? No chemist in the world has ever come close.
And I said to him, okay, do not let even take a self, a free living cell. Let's take even the ones that science is proposing as a minimal cell, like in
Right.
Science magazine in
Yeah.
2016, which is a much smaller than a free living cell with about 400 proteins. And there you have still the enormous problem to get there.
Yeah. And he also mentioned how, okay, chemists are selecting out the purified reagents to run their experiments. Okay, he doesn't acknowledge, he doesn't even realize that that's interference by the chemist, selecting the exact purified chemicals to be in the experiment. So you're not starting with a random pot, prebiotic soup to begin with.
Yeah, I mean,
So those are
what you have,
controlled conditions. Then he brought up protocells. Those are diacetyl oil membranes. They have no resemblance to a functional cell membrane, which has proteins passing through them. So
yeah.
he's way off. He's way off on Tangelo.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I didn't come up even to say, I didn't have the opportunity yesterday to say to him that membrane proteins and membranes, they are interdependent, because you
Yeah.
need to have the possibility to make the homeostasis gradient. You need to have the concentration of calcium 10,000 times less than in the outside of the cell. You need to have the homeostatic environment in regards of several ions. You need to have the possibility to transport and recognize the materials that the cell requires, like iron and sulfur and all this kind of, and the carbon, all this kind of stuff. And these protocells, they do not have that, and that doesn't work. I mean, this
Yeah.
is just made up
Yeah.
pseudoscientific
That's
nonsense.
a joke. He needs to go to the top chemists in the world and tell them how to produce this primitive cell, because they can't even do it.
Well, all he has is wishful thinking.
Yeah, exactly. High hopes.
Salad dressing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what protocells are. I got James Tor saying that.
Yeah.
And
But
aren't they
he knows
made
more
from
than these guys.
fat anyway?
What's that?
Are they made from fat anyway?
They're made from vegetable soybean oil, and they just move them around in a mixture, and they want to claim that that is an early
Yeah.
primitive cell membrane.
So they're made from
Yeah.
life anyway.
Yeah, but they're not actually living. They have no relevance to an actual cell. But Snake will argue, oh, it's a primitive cell membrane. It's on its way.
It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have never seen someone addressing the transition from these prebiotic membranes to the ones synthesized in a living cell, which is hyper complex. I mean, to make the fatty acid, you need fatty acid synthase, which is a molecular machine which has 4 different synthesis processes inside just one protein, and the intermediate product doesn't leak out. And this is something which requires logic and foresight to understand that if the intermediate product leaks out, then you have problems. So you make a protein which actually makes the whole pathway inside the protein, and it doesn't. The intermediate product doesn't leak out.
And by the way, how is he making a protein? I'm just curious. So he's going to find some microenvironment on the early Earth that's going to be able to select all left-handed amino acids?
Well, did you see? I did list to him all the steps which are problems in regards of chemical evolution of amino acids. And then he listened until I came to the last step in regards of chlorophyll. And then he found an objection and said, oh, but this is not an abiogenesis problem. But he entirely missed to address all the other points which I brought forward. So he just ignored them.
Now, what about removal of competing materials and byproducts? So if you have a mixture of amino acids, you have 20 different types. You have no idea, like you said, what you're selecting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he had some really strong arguments.
He had no argument at all, but he had a nice wish that science in the future, in 20,000 years, will come up with an explanation. And, I mean,
Didn't he say that 20,000 years?
Yeah. He said 20,000 years. Maybe in 20,000 years we have an explanation. Hey.
That's some belief.
That's a good quote.
Yeah. I mean, it starts really to even to be boring, but whatever. I mean, they think they have a case because there is still so much ignorance out there. But when you actually understand the science and understand what is involved in all this, then it becomes very, very clear that unguided events, he then claimed, oh, but you say they are unguided events, but they were not unguided events because chemical reactions, they are not unguided.
Right.
Well, well, how did the genetic code come into existence and the information? You didn't have chemical reactions for that. Chemical reactions do not produce informational codes.
Not at all. But then he went into, oh, well, the first cells didn't need proteins. They didn't need DNA. They didn't need enzymes. But in fact, chemists in the lab, they use these design filtration systems to select out all right-handed sugars. Of course, he would ignore that because he doesn't know the chemistry.
Well, I addressed this too, and I said to him, hey, how do you make the selection of the homochirality and the enantiomers? And of course, science is trying to find out. It's always like, that's really the materialism of the gaps.
Absolutely.
The thing is, you could give them the parts anyway, and they still can't make it alive.
Correct.
Doesn't matter.
There's a linkage problem. Yeah, it's a major linkage problem.
Yeah, what is the difference between the second before a cell dies and when it's died, when it's dead?
Right.
What is the difference?
They can't tell you.
You have the exact same material there. It didn't change. So what happened?
They have no clue. They'll just say it didn't assemble that way. So there was something.
To say the truth, we don't have either. We don't know why we die.
Yeah. Well, it was pathetic.
Yeah.
I could, I'm not as patient to sit there for 2 hours as you. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is good because it demonstrates where the atheists are with their explanations and where we are. It demonstrates that, and that's good that this comes out, so people have a notion and an idea. So these debates, they are very fruitful because they demonstrate the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does show. It does show how little they even really think about it. Honestly, appeal to the impossible.
Yes. I mean, reason is really on our sides, and I think that science has provided us with such a wealth of evidence, and what we have to do now is really to be light in an earth which dwells in darkness, and we need to be light and demonstrate to the world that God is real, that He exists, that He loves us, and that our hope is in Him.
Well,
That's
they might figure it. They're going to figure it out, I think. 20,000 years. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, I think I'll end this chat. I'm almost an hour here live.
I'll catch you guys later. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
It was
Dan.
nice to
All
have
right,
you
good
here.
seeing you. God bless.
Thanks, brother. God bless.
Bye bye.